Okay, the Canadian Broadcast Corporation, CBC, is back again with some more AI news, I guess. AI related data centers use vast amounts of water, but gauging how much is a murky business. So, if you don't recognize me yet, my name is Alex. I run an AI agency in Toronto called Peak Demand Incorporated. We're going to try a little different here. I'm looking at the camera today, or at least going to try my best to look at the camera. Apparently, looking at the camera builds more trust on YouTube. Great. So, our team has been helping Canadians implement AI operations or AI into their operations from anywhere from answering phones to analyzing data, writing reports, making Canadian workflows in business easier. So for me, the biggest takeaway for Canadians in their AI journey is that they're just out to lunch. Like Canadians really need to start paying attention to how fast this technology is going, and it feels like the rest of the world is quite literally evolving past us without us even realizing it. So I'm trying to bring more light to that narrative and hopefully get more Canadians thinking about how can I use AI in my everyday life? How can I implement AI in my business to make my business flow better, or at least capture more revenue? And what am I looking at in terms of planning for the next 5-10 years in an AI driven world? So CBC, they have a lot of news pieces. A lot of it's fear. Like you go to our YouTube channel, you'll see me talking all about it, but I don't want that to be all that we talk about. There's a lot of great things, a lot of amazing technology that we talk about, integrating voice agents into legacy systems, stuff like that. But this particular conversation gets the most attention on YouTube, which obviously helps us with it's basically a good revenue generating activity for us. So let's get into it. As tech companies spend billions on data centers, citizens around the world are starting to push back. This is written by a Jonathan and Yvette from CBC News. On a dry, let me see if I can zoom in here. On a dry, hot day this summer, Catherine Barnwell, a retired English professor, marched up the road from her home in Nanaimo, BC, to take another crack at the mayor. Leonard Krog, a longtime friend of Barnwell's, was standing by the entrance to a parched, wooded lot, the proposed site for a data center Krog has been backing. I really enjoin you to think about what this data center could mean for your political career, Barnwell said, barely looking at him in the eye. So, data centers are pretty much the lifeblood of AI infrastructure. We need monster data centers to process, millions of different computational, algorithms and sophisticated computer processing for God knows what. Even me being an AI guy, I don't really know too much about it, but essentially we need a lot of energy and a lot of processing power. So, you know, the conversation about renewable versus fossil fuels, the conversation about AI chips doing a lot of the computational processing for a lot of these large language models. This one area I'm really curious about actually, because I understand the encoding and decoding nature for large language models, but how that actually computes into energy use is still a little bit foggy to me personally. But I do know bottom line is we need a lot of computational power and a lot of energy to work with AI. And so this conversation around AI data centers in Canada, it's funny because we have a profound amount of natural resources and energy generating capability. Like we're the perfect nation to house a lot of data centers, but we just don't have them. And so big companies like Microsoft, Amazon, OpenAI, they're all looking at us going, hey, like we'd love to put some data centers down in your country. We can talk about data sovereignty for your citizens. It's all a big ploy just to get more bricks in the earth and really just build up their own coverage of global AI infrastructure through OpenAI, Microsoft. But Canadians, we really got to start paying attention to this because eventually there's going to be data centers in our country that don't belong to us. Literally, they're not going to belong to us, and the data that goes through them might be ours. But if is it going to be sovereign at that point? Probably not. So we need to pay attention to this because we've gone so slow for the past 2-3 decades where we didn't have any considerations for any sort of data centers or cryptocurrency operations or anything like that. And the states and the rest of the world took that by storm, and now they're literally encroaching on our land. So just something to keep in mind, and keep in mind, like I studied environmental sciences in school, so the idea that sustainability needs to be taken into account, I understand that, but I think for Canada specifically, we're at a point here where we can't even consider sustainability in terms of like climate and the environment because we're so far behind. We need to make some sacrifices to keep up. And this is coming from a guy who took environmental science, who got into tech. Krog, who has been mayor since 2018, sees a project as a chance to modernize the city's economy. The kind of jobs that would be attracted to this kind of facility are the jobs of the future, and that's exactly right. Like whoever this Krog guy is, he's got the right idea. We need to start developing these hyper sophisticated data centers because it brings a lot of jobs, and all of those jobs are jobs of the future, where those people, when they get the skills to work at the data center, they can pretty much you know have an opportunity to work in a bunch of different places. Until 3 years ago, Barnwell knew little about data centers, which house the computer servers that power much of the online world. But when the plot of land near her home was rezoned for one, she began researching. She's now one of the loudest opponents of the projects in Nanaimo. So, Canadians, we're not really paying attention too much to this stuff. So I can really understand why she'd be resistant. It's her home. She pays her mortgage. She probably paid off her mortgage. She wants to defend that. Her main concern, shared by other local opponents, is the amount of municipal drinking water the 200,000 square foot data center would need for its cooling systems in a region beset by drought. Barnwell says similar sized facilities can churn through 70,000 liters of potable water a day. Yeah, and I can't even argue with that. And I'm not going to argue on behalf of data centers. I'm just going to say Canada needs data centers. And if figuring out how to do our water management in a better way is required, then so be it. We're literally going to have data centers in this country. It's you know, and arguing for, well, yeah, we need a safe climate, we need clean air, all that stuff. That's great. Let's figure out a way to use some renewable energy sources to power the data centers. Being more sustainable with water usage. We got to figure it out. Life on this planet is sustained by water. It's not sustained by data. We don't need data the way we need water, Barnwell said, and we in Canada have been pretty blithe about our natural resources. I I agree, but we're coming into a world now, and this is so it's really quite jarring to know this stuff. But we're coming into a world now where water is becoming a scarce commodity. So you can literally trade water, the value of water, you can trade it up and down on markets. Data, on the other hand, is required for quite literally everything. It's required to get access to clean water. It's required to access water markets. Like data is to me feels like it's becoming the unquestionable layer of existence in our society. And I can tell you, a lot of people I know just don't even straight up just don't even drink water. So for me, she's right, but this is a mentality that has this go green first, tech later. We can't really afford to do that anymore in Canada. We got to go tech now to see if we can save the green. Barnwell sees herself as part of a global resistance movement drawing attention to environmental impact of data centers at a moment when the tech industry is spending dizzy sums to build them. So yeah, it's really, and I'm an environmental guy. Like I took environmental science. You can't win. There's no beating the big corporations. They have more money. They have more time to wait you out. So it's really working with them in advancing the technological fold rather than just saying, well, we can't do all that because it's going to hurt our ecosystem. It doesn't work, guys. It's coming from someone who studied this. I mean, I did well in environmental sciences. I do wish I had taken tech, though. But that's probably why I have such a curious perspective on this stuff. Canada is poised to join the data center boom. The federal government and some provinces have been actively courting investors, vaunting the country's cheap electricity, much of it hydropower and cool climate. At least 8 projects are underway to build hyperscale data centers in Canada, according to the federal government. But as such, projects face greater scrutiny around the world. Canada is jumping into AI construction race with few mechanisms to protect its water supply. There's barely any regulation in place, said Jeff White, executive director of Public Interest Advocacy Center, an Ottawa-based consumer protection group. So, and I do understand why there's such little resistance. Canadians are going to hear data center going up, and they're going to be like, "Well, what's a data center?" Right off the bat. And I'm a tech guy. I don't know how data centers are built. I don't know the intricacies of how they work. I can tell you how an AI agent works and how to plug it into stuff and make it do exactly what you want. But when it comes to data centers, I don't know. I don't know how to build them. I don't know how to operate them. So the average Canadian who's not tech literate, who doesn't know anything about AI, how are they? They would have no idea. So this notion that we would be resistant to something that we can't even understand, that's that's the Canadian way. Oh, data centers going up. I don't know what it does. I know it's going to hurt drinking water. Resist. Oh, AI is coming. AI is doing. It can do work really well, but that means people who can't do work really well are going to lose their job. Resist. It's a Canadian way, but I really do feel like Canadians are just going to yield to this technological future. It's like, hey, we can't fight the future forever. Like literally, our economy's crashing. So I do believe at some point in time we're going to bite the bullet and just say, hey, give us our data centers, give us our robots, cross-border data handling, sovereignty for data. We're not too concerned. How much water do chatbots drink? That's an interesting H2 title. Data centers are as old as computers and until recently were relatively uncontroversial, boring bits of IT infrastructure tucked away in nondescript office spaces. But with the advent of cloud computing in the mid 2000s, they dramatically increased in size. These data centers buildings range anywhere from 10,000 to 100,000 square feet, require upwards of 1,000 megawatts of power and millions of liters of water annually for their cooling systems. How water is used to cool a data center. Here we go. The server cooling system liquid is sent through a central center directly over the processor's heat is carried away. The hot liquid is carried to a heat exchanger transferred to the building's cooling system. If the building's cooling system uses evaporative cooling, it can convert water to vapor and release it outside. So essentially, we're just splashing water on hot machines. Vapor goes out the door. Great. It's funny because like I really do feel if I got more into the data center stuff, I'd probably end up trying to be a part of that world. But I'm old enough now where it's like, Alex, you know what you can do well, stay in your lane, just have the conversations. But I'm a proponent of data centers in Canada. I really do believe we're going to need data centers in Canada in order for tech teams to develop large language models and AI systems that leverage those data centers, and allow us to keep data in Canada, especially at the government level. Like the government is so far behind on sovereignty and keeping data in Canada. Like it is a joke. So for me to say, the Canada 10, 15 years from now might have a pathway to data sovereignty, that's great. But right now we're relying on US systems 100%. These demands have only been turbocharged by artificial intelligence, which requires data centers that house thousands of densely packed high performance chips operating around the clock and generating heat. A study done in 2023 estimated that generating between 10 and 50 medium sized responses in ChatGPT, the AI powered chatbot, consumes about half a liter of water. That accounts for both the water required to produce electricity needed to run the data center, about a half a liter, and to cool it down. So a little less, or 65 milliliters. So even just looking at this, generating between 10 and 50 medium-sized responses in ChatGPT. So just my own ChatGPT experience, if 10 to 50, let's just say 50 medium-sized responses consume a half liter of water, I use anywhere between 3 to 5 AI terminals every day, from anywhere between 2 to 6 hours, if I can go longer, but at least 2 hours a day. I got 3, 4 terminals up doing at least, I would say, at minimum 50, but some days I'm going crazy, 150, 200 responses. With that being said, I am personally burning a half liter at least every day, up to a couple liters, maybe a few liters or some of the other stuff we're doing, just using ChatGPT. That's me. That's me by myself. But I'm an AI guy. I do a lot of work in AI, so everything's AI. So if it costs me 2 liters a day, or cost our infrastructure 2 liters a day, the average person is going to use ChatGPT like maybe 5, 6 times a day, one terminal. It's not that much water. I mean, right now in Canada, definitely not that much water. And I really do believe that once we get into this space where we're having issues with water and sustainability for fresh drinking water, we're going to be using AI to figure out that situation as well. We need AI to figure out these environmental problems, guys. That's the bottom line. A separate study conducted by the International Energy Agency estimated that in 2023, data centers around the world consumed 140 billions of liters of water just for cooling. Much of that was potable water pulled from municipal utilities because data centers generally use evaporative cooling systems. Untreated water can damage the sensitive computer equipment inside. The tech industry's water consumption is set to rise in the coming years as big firms seek to outpace each other in building the infrastructure necessary for what they hope will be mass adoption of AI. Analysts expect capital expenditures globally on cloud and AI will be more than 550 billion Canadian this year alone. So that's like $500 million in global expenditures on cloud and AI infrastructure per year. We're talking trillions of dollars, guys. Like literally trillions of dollars. Among the big tech companies, Microsoft has taken the lead in building data centers with AI capacity in Canada. The Washington based corporation purchased several large tracts of land in 2021, including a golf course near Quebec City and a former department store in Toronto suburb of Etobicoke. It's in the process of turning the sites into data centers capable of powering its AI enabled products like Azure and Copilot, an investment worth at least $1 billion. At least 2 of Microsoft data centers in Ontario have been cleared by municipal authorities to consume vast amount of municipal drinking water. The Etobicoke data center, dubbed YT040, was approved to use up to 40 liters of water per second for cooling purposes, according to planning documents submitted to the city. That would be the equivalent to around 1.2 billion liters per year, or 500 Olympic-sized swimming pools per year. Oh wow! Maybe we can watch this video. Ooh. Video has no audio, but look at this monster data center. Holy shit. Need a few of these bad boys going up. A Microsoft data center complex in nearby Vaughan, a city spokesperson said, is expected to consume 730 million liters of water annually. But according to Microsoft, its new Canadian data centers will only use a fraction of that amount because of the design features that allow them to be cooled using outdoor air and recycled rainwater. Ali Alistair Spears, general manager of Microsoft Azure Global Infrastructure, acknowledges traditional industrial cooling has been a very water intensive process. He says the way Microsoft is building its data centers today is with really that in mind. One of the greatest things about building in Canada in colder climates is that we can just use free air cooling from outside temperatures. It's great. I was about to swear. That's really good. The company said its data centers will only draw municipal water when outside temperatures are above 30 degrees Celsius or when indoor humidity levels drop below 5%. Microsoft has made similar promises elsewhere. The company built a data center in northwestern Netherlands despite opposition from local farmers, promising it would only need between 12 and 20 million liters of water annually. Dutch media later revealed the data center was consuming more than 4 times that as locals were being asked to limit their own water use. Oops. In response to Dutch media, Microsoft said the initial estimate had been based on consumption at that time, but not specify what time period it was referring to. So, and this is going to happen more and more and more and more. These data centers are going to be taking up water, energy, space. It has to happen. And I wish we were more tech conscious and more thirsty for technology because we would be far more ahead in our understanding of the requirement for these things, and probably have better planning on them during their development. But it's so haphazard that the people who don't know what's going on and are resisting it are eventually going to pay the price. That's why having an education and stuff really matters. Resistance grows. The new Microsoft data centers in Canada, which are slated to come online in the coming months, have faced no discernible opposition from the public. Like right off the bat, like no one knows what the hell they do, so they're just like, "Oh, new building going up, great." One Etobicoke city councillor wasn't even aware of the YTO project before CBC News contacted him. Oops. That's in stark contrast to communities in the United States, Europe, and Latin America, where concerns about water scarcity have sparked protests. Last month, Google shelved plans to build a $1 billion US data center in Indianapolis after residents organized a month-long campaign against the project. When a lawyer representing Google abruptly announced the decision at a city council meeting, the room erupted in applause that lasted for nearly a minute. So you will have some, I mean, the States are probably so far along ahead. Everyone's just racing to put data centers down wherever they can. In Canada, it's like, well, what's a data center? A growing number of jurisdictions in the US and Europe are also seeking to pass regulations that would limit data center water consumption or force companies to be more transparent about how much they're using. Canada's federal government also set aside $700 million to fund data center projects here. But aside from energy regulators who review data center applications to connect to power grids, there's little industry oversight. Yep. If we're racing ahead and thinking only about economic benefits and not about the downstream impacts on our environment, that's negligent, said White with the Public Interest Advocacy Center. I think Canadians ought to be concerned. Our water is highly sought after and will be as the world gets hotter. What's this guy saying?
Canadians that live in dry areas should care a lot about AI water usage. That water is needed for agriculture, it's needed for cities. Canadians that live near large freshwater bodies should care about the water usage of AI, both because it takes a lot of energy and carbon to treat and move our water around, and because we have pipes that are already underground that were built on plans that hadn't thought of AI. Some of our pipes are 100 years old. We hadn't thought of lots of things when they went underground. They were not expecting the thirst of an AI data center. And so the AI consumption, well, we've got lots of water in Lake Ontario, stresses out our local infrastructure in ways that will make some residential development more difficult.
So I can tell you right now, like our entire infrastructure is not ready for the future. Like it's a joke in Canada. We've been living in the same mindset that the 1970s, 80s, and 90s are going to be the same throughout the 2000s, and it's so different that the reality of this new world is quite literally blindsiding Canada. So let's see, and the fallout's going to be, and I really do believe the fallout's going to be, did you pick up technology? Did you understand what these data centers were doing to your environment, to real estate? There's a whole bunch of things to consider. I hope that Canada becomes less a country of real estate and more a country of AI operations, more data centers, more AI companies. Like we literally have to. Our if like I was looking at a YouTube video. I like watching these real estate guys talk about Canadian real estate. It's very, very provocative conversation. And even me, like I'm looking at it, trying to time the market, and it's just like, do I even want to consider this market at all? I wouldn't say I'm a young man anymore, but the idea of investing in an economy that is clearly dying versus trying to figure out something else to do. That's what everyone in Canada is thinking, but it's like we don't have any other economies to look at. Like there's no other industries. Like it's our entire economy is built on real estate. So looking at the future, I think to myself, well, if our entire economy is built on real estate, and now the real estate side of things is sort of segueing into this space of AI, like I really do believe like Canada's going to be an AI nation just because of how bad our current industries are. Like energy, we should be shipping more natural resources, like a lot more. uh, Real estate, everything's extremely overvalued. I see a lot of people like selling at a loss, just to try and pay for their lifestyle into retirement. It's just, we need a brand new thing to throw money at or just work at. And I really do believe it's going to be AI all in. Evan Solomon, it has to be. Hoodwinking the public is not good practice. None of the big tech companies provide detailed breakdowns of their water usage by facility. Some actively resist attempts for more disclosure. Google paid for an Oregon City's lawsuit against a local newspaper that was seeking water consumption figures for a data center. The suit was eventually dropped, and the figures revealed that Google data center accounted for a quarter of the city's water use in 2021. Holy shit. Many Canadian cities, including Toronto, charge commercial water users based on volume consumed, so are able to monitor usage, but other municipalities don't have that infrastructure in place. Amazon Web Services, the cloud services subsidiary of the online retailing giant, has been operating a data center in Varennes, Quebec, just northeast of Montreal since 2018. The facility is not equipped with a water meter, so no one in Varennes knows how much water is being consumed, though a spokesperson said a meter would be installed soon. Jesus Christ, guys. Like, can we do better? Similar sized data centers can use millions of liters of water per year. Amazon didn't answer CBC's questions about its water use at the Varennes facility. Without a water meter, the building's owner only pays a flat rate for potable water use. In 2023, that was $153. According to tax records shared with CBC News, Amazon Web Services recorded $100 billion US in revenue that year. So Amazon's looking at where to put data centers, and it's like, well, this little municipality only charges a flat rate for potable water. How much do you think we'd save on water consumption for a data center there? Probably millions of dollars. What I found, and I think this is an industry wide problem, is that there's a tendency to deny or cover up the water consumption exists, said Nathan Wangusi, a water scientist who, until last year, worked on sustainable issues for Amazon. Wangusi, who started his own water consultancy firm after leaving Amazon, said without more transparency, the data center industry will lose its social license to operate, potentially stalling the growth of AI. That is absolutely untrue. This guy says, without more transparency, the data center industry will lose its social license to operate, potentially stalling the growth of AI. Not only is the data center industry going to continue to operate without transparency, but the data center industry, even if they were to be completely and utterly transparent and the absolutely diabolical amount of water usage that goes on annually, will still operate because Canadians aren't going to get up and fight this stuff. They're not. In the US, they fight. They fight for everything. They fight for life. They fight to survive. In Canada, we'll see what happens. So that's why that's why I believe that Canada will become an AI nation. Because the people here, as much as they resist it, they don't fight it. They just fear. They just fear and cower. So once the data centers start to drop and people start to say, oh, the data centers are hiring, okay, we're just going to do that now. Canada has a lot of followers. We like to follow the strong people, or at least what the strong are doing, because it's safe. It's risk aversive. Oh, data centers are out here now. Oh, water's an issue. Oh, but I get a job at the data center. Okay, that's what's gonna happen. No one's getting up and resisting all this Microsoft and OpenAI and AWS putting down data centers. It's literally just me sitting here going, yeah, I can't wait. We should be disclosing how much water we are using, he said. Hoodwinking the public is not good practice. It's not good for business. Yeah, it is, brother. It's literally like part of the best practices playbook. In Nanaimo, where the data center project is still working its way through the municipal approvals process, opponents like Catherine Barnwell worry city officials don't have the expertise to hold big tech firms accountable. And that's exactly right. We are so far out in the weeds when it comes to tech, our understanding of where the market is and just how this technology works. And I'm an AI guy. I don't know how data centers work. These city officials who don't even like, I've spoken to city officials. A lot of them are have a hard time navigating their emails. We're not equipped to fight this battle, guys. We are going to yield and be acclimated into the machine. So bottom line, it seems that wherever these data centers have been installed in the first place, those communities have accepted them and that have accepted them have come to regret it really, really deeply. She said it's probably the same types of regret people are having when they put down payments on houses in 2022. Her message to the city's mayor: we have the opportunity here to stop it before it starts. Yeah, we had the same thing with our real estate industry. Look what happened. Oh boy. You know what? I do I actually like this article because me reading it just reaffirms this idea that Canadians are just not paying attention. We're not. We are having the biggest technological transformation in the history of humanity, and the powers that be are quite literally buying our land, our buildings to propel it forward. This woman, Catherine Barnwell, she didn't know what was going on until it started to affect her. She didn't know what was going on until her house and her property was being affected. Now she's a big advocate. Why wasn't she a big advocate before? Because she didn't know. Canadians just don't know. So it's really like, oh, it's happening to me now and I can't do anything because it's too late. Okay, I'll just accept it. That's what's going to happen. And I don't mind. I really don't mind because I think it's going to create a lot of jobs. Like if you're a young person, get into electricity, get into being an electrician, someone who can put together networks, an engineer. Those are the people who are going to have a really big opportunity in the future because of all these data centers coming up. It's not going to be young people that are becoming lawyers or becoming I would say we need as many doctors as we can, but lawyers and real estate people, we don't need as many of those people as we need people who can work with uh, work for a healthcare provider or for AI infrastructure. I believe healthcare and AI are going to be the future for Canada, just given our natural resources, the amount of land we have, and our demographics. But what do you guys think? Where do you think um, Canadian economy, Canadian industry is going? Tech companies are spending billion on us here in Canada to build up their monster machines, and I'm personally all for it. So if you like this type of conversation and you feel like it's contributing to your knowledge or the narrative that you have around AI adoption in Canada, hit like and subscribe. If you like my face, definitely hit like and subscribe. If you don't like my face or what I'm saying, hit dislike, leave me a comment, leave us a comment about the agency. We love the feedback. The feedback helps us with the content war machine, and I really do believe that this conversation around AI is going to spike up very quickly over the next couple years in Canada, maybe even sooner. We're getting more subscribers every day, but it's just like we have to start paying attention here in this country, guys. If we don't start paying attention, the literally the world, like tech companies, are going to come here, build up their operations without us, and just import work. So keep that in mind. If you're a young person, start to pay attention. Looking forward to the next one. Bye now.